patent is very serious. We were really lucky because we were early filers. But in reality, a patent is probably one of the single most valuable things, even pending, because you can do a lot with that once you understand how the landscape works. We can file continuations in part. There's a whole. It's almost unfair to tell you the truth. As I've learned more about patents, there's a point when going through this where I realized I made a mistake and I should have just done this. 20 years ago, just come up with ideas that are going to happen 20 years in the future and just patent away. But yeah, a patent I believe is incredibly valuable, no matter what the case is. As long as again it's well put together and there's some validity to it.
Okay.
I was gonna say a good example of that is the guy who he got a patent for running wires through coats.
Yep.
And then he sued Burton and everybody else who put speakers or any
so
sort of wire system in their coat. And so now, he's made his own brand, and either you can buy it from him or you can make it yourself.
So if you look at the big players,
Or
like
you
look
just
at
pay into royalties.
between a Samsung and IBM, like these guys, the majority of the money is made in these crazy weird licensing deals, and it's tricky and it's not fair. But man, oh man, is it like once you learn the landscape, it's very powerful. And again, to your point, I couldn't stress if anything. You look at what you're doing. If there's anything novel. Because man, oh man, like you can just file continuations in parts for years. Sometimes patent pending is better than winning, because you can get really, you get really strategic on how you go about, protecting your space, right?
Okay. Any other questions? Going quick.
Yeah, from the marketing aspect, the digital content that you guys promote for companies. So what kind of content works best in terms of promotion, like images, videos,
really
or stuff like that?
At the end of the day, it's give people things that they want,
Okay.
and I could go over cases like left and right where I very often too you can tell it's not my job. Like we're tech providers, right? So sometimes you look at something happening and you're like, ooh, maybe I'll step out, step in and give your own advice, but you kind of see the car wreck before it happens, being like that. Like put yourself in the consumer's position and say, would I like this? Would this make me happy or would this be annoying? And a lot of I find it's surprising how many few people ask themselves that question. But really, at the end of the day, it's information when you need it. Compelling offers. It can be anything. There's no particular piece of content that's going to be the most effective. It's again, what am I giving somebody at an opportune moment? What's in it for me, right? And if you think about that first, putting yourself in your client's shoes. Again, is this annoying or is this beneficial? First thing you should ask yourself, and if it's if it's the latter, then probably a good choice.
That's good.
Perfect. Any other questions before we go? Yep, there.
Is the Internet of Things still running on 2G?
Well, the Internet, the Internet of Things is like a broad term.
Really
broad buzz term that everyone uses, but it's cell-connected devices, for example. A lot of them are still 2G. Like I'm not sure there's a company called Sorcom that where there's some really cool stuff happening in the SIM space. But the Internet of Things is just a kind of a broad, overused term for it, and the fact that everything's going to be connected and have a sensor. Again, a lot of our patent portfolio and some of the management tools that we intend to put out years, down the road are in essence scanning the environment, and we're replicating how TCP/IP works. Where I have an email address wherever at whatever Wi-Fi router I log into that, I get a globally identified address where there's just nothing. That's what we looked at years ago. I did this. There was no standard that existed for this new, call it the IoT or the subnet of sensors, and we have all of the big companies in the world glass walling everything off, or walled gardens, whatever you want to call it, and doing things that are never going to be adopted by the next gen of developers, right? You're making things difficult, expensive, and complicated, and stopping me from doing things where you're hacking things left, right, and center to try to get different systems to play well together, and then everyone's speaking a different language. So that's kind of what one of our main goals behind this is. Let's open this up. Let's reduce the costs. Let's not do anything stupid, because people aren't going to use it if it is, right? And at the end of the day, as great as the enterprise are, really it's you guys in this room, and they know the generation younger than all of us that are going to build on this stuff and do weird, cool things that we probably haven't even thought of.
Perfect. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Anybody else? With that being said, I want to thank you so much, Aaron, for coming out and talking to us. If you're not, we're going to bring out 3 people to give a quick little pitch on who they are and what they're about. So let me just switch on over a different screen. And then we'll get the first person. Let me tell you, this is
Someone fell short.
wrong one. And there we go. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have the 3 speakers coming on board. Anybody can go on their mobile phone and just go directly to the website, slido.com, and then at that point it's going to be prompted to punch in a code 3182. You have a choice of maybe pitching of number 1, 2, and 3. It'll be a live pitch. So with that being said, I'll get the first person to come on board. His name is Shahar Oster.
Just Oscar.
Oster, come on down and talk
Ryan.
a little bit more about what you're about.
Brian,
Yep.
can you maximize it?
Oh, jeez.
The window.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
that.
online
There you
onto the
go.
website
Get out of the
and
way.
just enter the room number.
So come on in the middle and talk a little bit more about who you are. You have about 1 minute to talk.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Okay, my name is Asta, and what I have in mind is very similar to what AWS, Amazon Web Services, did for computers. How many people know AWS? Quick. Okay. So, for the context, AWS converts hardware into software. So what you do is to write code, and that code would be the specification of your hardware. And it makes it easy for you to spin off any hardware that you want to run your code on. I want to do what AWS did for hardware, for computers. I want to do the same thing for factories. I want to move them into cloud, convert them to software, and make a completely automated supply chain from the machineries and from the factories. I want to make factories smart, chain and graph to each other. So the way I do it, I should go and patent it. But yeah, the way I do it is
3182, right?
by using a lot of machine learning, by using a lot of artificial intelligence, and by using a lot of Internet of Things that we just spoke about, sensor data, etc., etc. I guess my time is running down.
Time is up right now.
Okay.
And we're just going to stop you really quick. And I guess my biggest question right now is first, who would be your general audience?
My general audience would be traders,
Okay.
first of all,
Okay.
because they're the ones who
Stock
are
trading and what kind of traders?
any kind of traders who
Okay.
buys and sells raw material
Okay.
or the products of any factory in the world.
Okay.
So kind of like Alibaba,
Mm-hmm.
but more automated.
Okay. So an automated version of Alibaba.
Yes, because it's connected to the factories
Okay.
and it understands, there's a semantic going on there. It understands the situation which is going on in each factory in the supply chain.
Okay. Now this is a pitch to peers, so it gives everybody a chance. Like it's been really based for the members to ask questions, and the reason you're asking the questions is so that he can make sure that he understands his own pitch and understands who his audience is and why do I need this. You know, it addresses the why, the need, the wants.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's still a little unclear to me. So it's like an automated supply chain which turns commodities into products.
Yes.
And then how do I then like? So I let's say currently a lot of the time you'll own a commodity but own it like digitally, and you put it into the supply chain. How does my commodity actually get there? Like how do the finer points of things actually happen is what I'm wondering.
Okay, the way you need to do this is to create subgroups of factories within a single supply chain. Okay, once you have a group of factories, okay, you can give the option to the user which factories to buy from, which factories to supply the material to the end product, to the factory which is making the end product, and so on and so forth. Does that make clear?
Yeah, so it's sort of like an expanded version of private labeling almost.
I didn't get that one.
Private labeling is where you basically take someone else's product that's being made in the factory and give it your own name and try to ship it out yourself.
Yeah, a hybridization between Facebook and Amazon Web Services, I guess. That would be the best.
I have a small doubt. Like already the FedEx and UPS and these companies are already playing the big role in the supply chain from factories to the customers. Like they are using the big data, they are using the analytics, they are using the machine learning stuff. And how do you differentiate with those big companies from yours?
Yeah. There are many differences. So FedEx and the companies that you mentioned, they're like mostly postal services. They're not shipping companies. So part of this idea involves having those shipping companies like Maersk connected to this network. So just having connected factories, smart factories, is not enough. Actually, it was a good point. So you need to connect these shipping factories, shipping companies to this network. And once you have that, you can have the data to make strategic decisions based on the data they provide.
Aaron, do you have any suggestions directly for him when it comes down to your audience knowing what he's?
Interesting idea. I would just right off the bat, like the Amazon. I kind of like the analogy, but I think the strongest thing you should focus on is just Amazon Web Services, or maybe even abstract that a little bit for the factory, and try to have a really strong, exciting call to action that gives me a little bit of an idea of what you're doing, but it's going to put me on edge to want to hear more right away.
Yeah.
You're close, but I think I would have led with a strong analogy as to.
Yeah, I am this of that. I'm the AWS version of the shipping, or just something to compare it. Okay. Yeah.
What do you think the cost structure would look like for factories to adopt this service?
So the factories, they have a lot of incentives to be global, right? So once you have a factory, you have certain places you can buy your raw material from, and you have certain places you can sell those raw materials to, those products to. So these are distributed globally.
So you're buying from suppliers and you are essentially becoming the vendor?
No. This is up to the factory.
Okay.
So the most important thing here is to schedule that supply chain. So most of the factories are not aware that their raw material can come from other places. They have different options, maybe cheaper, maybe faster, depending on what's important for them. And the same goes for those people, for those factories who use your end product.
Okay.
So having this smart network, you're able to schedule dynamically. So once you have the situation going on in each factory, right? Once the situation changes in one factory in the supply chain, you can quickly switch it to another factory, reschedule the whole production, and then deliver on time or on price, depending on what's most important for you.
Okay.
Does that?
One last question. So, you want to go? Yeah.
Have you ever thought of doing like a visualization of this, like in like a lot of people I know use the game design tool, I forget the one, Unity, or for factory like supply chain things, even like Minecraft with the mods. You could demonstrate like what it like something like that would look like, even just like a visual representation.
Yeah.
Because Minecraft mods have become quite complicated, where people actually build automated supply chains that take raw materials and turn them into end products through automated systems, and it would sort of give people a visualization of like what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, currently we're in the stage of feasibility checking.
Yeah.
So no, we don't have any visual.
So don't explain your video yet. That's fine. So, last question.
Have you thought about the labor force? Because that's quite variable, right? It's not really something you can control.
So the labor force is not something that we're concerned about, because this is going to be handled by each factory. What we actually do is to first make that factory smarter by doing preventive maintenance prediction or automated maintenance, and second by connecting it to a wider network of factories. So the day-to-day business of the factory will go on as usual. So they are the ones responsible for having some labor force in place and doing the stuff. What we're going to do is to connect them to a wider network.
Okay. So with that being said, one thing to think about later on is how you're going to monetize everything, and so that can be maybe used in another pitch later on.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I'm just trying to this based on timing. I'll get Liam to come on board, and thank you so much for coming in and giving your pitch.
Thank you.
It's all about getting out there and trying.
Alright, how's it going, guys? My name is Liam, as Brian said, and I'm representing a fairly early stage company called HomeHop. So essentially we allow people to rent out a second home or investment property or their own home on a short-term rental site, hassle-free. So we can almost think of us as like a property management service for like an Airbnb rental. We basically will set up your home, we'll manage the listing, we'll make the listing, we'll provide 24/7 guest support. We'll inspect the home afterwards. We'll clean it, and we'll restock all the supplies like soap or laundry detergent that depletes after each guest turns over. So I mean, that's essentially it. Like, it's not too complicated, I would say, but you can almost just think of it again as like property management if you're renting an Airbnb. Yep.
So would you be choosing the guests?
No, so that's actually a good question. So you would put specifications as to what you want, so like certain guests that you want, and then we would screen them. So like ultimately, yes, we're like deciding who comes in and out, but like it's based off your specifications.
Is there insurance?
Yeah, so there is. So there's different levels of this. So Airbnb has their own host guarantee. So they insure your place up for, it's not insurance,
Yeah.
but they will cover damages up to $1
Up to a
million.
certain,
Yeah. So that's like specific things like related to like damaged items, but that's not related to like if the guest got damaged or if there's like liability on the property. I have some sheets that kind of go into more of like what their thing does, and then there's like your own property insurance, and then there's actually something interesting. Viva, the like insurance provider, is providing like home sharing specific insurance.
Oh.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So it's like liabilities arising out of like short-term
Yeah.
rentals, essentially.
That's very interesting.
What's your revenue model? How do you?
Yeah, so we charge a percentage of, so like a property management company, we charge a percentage of the rental. So we're starting off with 15%. Actually, for early users, we're going to do just 10%, which is actually the fee that a normal property manager would charge. Now, like a normal property manager, the amount of work that they have to do is significantly lower than what we're doing, because it's almost like we're not necessarily in the real estate space like a property manager is. We're more so in the hospitality space, because there's constantly guest turnover, and we're constantly answering questions and all that sort of thing. But yeah, easy answer is just we charge a fee on the rental income.
Perfect. Aaron, would you have a suggestion directly for it?
No, I like it. It's
Perfect.
Airbnb for Airbnb.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, like, the basic idea is like Airbnb and all this stuff is like professionalizing. So like when you hear like Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, talk about it, he's like, it's kind of like he's a bit of like on the extreme side, that where he's kind of like, oh yeah, like bring someone into your home and like they'll just sleep on your couch or sleep in a spare room, and like that's cool for a lot of people, but a lot of people don't want that, and they also just, there needs to be a more professional service for a lot of guests also that want that kind of like hotel experience. But yeah, sure.
Question?
What I was gonna say is, are you also gonna work with like campsite properties or like, because basically my parents used to have a cottage up north and it
Yeah.
burnt down, and I was always thinking like, oh, I should put like an RV or like, you know, like a small thing that I could rent out because it's a very nice property. There's nowhere to stay on it, and like would you like cover those type of services, and because it's like really far away from Toronto and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so for one, that's like an interesting one. So like covering like the Muskoka and Cottage area is like something that I was thinking. We're first doing just Toronto, just cities, and then hopefully doing more of like the cottage areas, because like you said, like there's a lot of people that have, say, I mean, this is a classic problem. You have a cottage, but you're not there for 11 months of the year, right?
Yeah.
But or you have a summer home in Florida, but you're not there like 11 months of the year. Now what you said that's kind of a unique case. So there's like, so I guess it's like a plot of land.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. So are you saying, would we offer the service of renting out the air, like getting an RV, putting the RV on the property and then renting it out?
Yeah.
You gotta see what the land rules are, because anything by the water and anything with a cottage, some areas, like you're not allowed to put an RV, and let's say if the land is completely, there's nothing on it, you have, let's say, 2 years to build on it. So there's like different areas will have different limitations depending on
Is it,
the
it's
land.
organized township or not, right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is I'm on a really small lake, 6 Mile Lake, so
it's nicely.
yeah, it's a nice lake, and it's the sort of thing where even things that were sketchy, someone bought a property and tried to subdivide it into 3. The council opposed him, but he went above them, and the miniature board was just like, yeah, why not? And they just gave it to him. It's like, what do you mean, why not? He's turning one cottage into 3. He's tripling the density.
Yeah, last question?
So, say I want to rent out a property to people, right?
Yeah.
And you know, things. I live somewhere globally, somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Do you manage like fixtures in the house, things that break down? How
Yes.
far in do you go to?
So we handle everything essentially. So you could, it doesn't matter where you live now. Like you could exactly that. Like you just have to be there. There has to be someone when we do the home setup. Like 'cause we have to go see the home and take pictures of it and ask you a few questions. But if you're living somewhere else, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, if there's like a damage, we file the claim to Airbnb. If we have to go past Airbnb and go to the insurance provider, we do that. Like we handle like basically all that sort of thing.
Perfect. With that being said, we'll jump on to the third person. Thank you so much for coming up and talking. Next one, come on down. I have Dinu Lobi. Come down and tell us a little bit more about you again.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Yaniv? Yaniv? Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your system. I know you gave a quick little brief before.
Sure.
So really, go for it. You have 1 minute.
Okay, so basically, I guess we can delve into a little bit more detail about the kind of services. So, for example, cloud. You know, we actually partner with Google Cloud Services. We also offer a cloud antivirus, so we can basically install it in all your workstations, and we remotely schedule antivirus scans. We'll get notifications if you get any viruses or any malware.
Yeah, we have a network monitoring system we set up as well. We have like on our server, the main host, and then set up on each one of our clients. So if your internet goes down, we know before you do. And then we have remote software. We use TeamViewer for that. Not sure if you guys are familiar with that.
And we use Avast for the antivirus system. And basically, what we've come to determination through all the experience of working for other employers is you can't cheap out. You can't scale back on the provider. So you need to go with the top tier, and that's how both our business and your business is going to succeed in the future.
With no downtime or minimal downtime, pretty much.
Perfect. So that's it. So you can tell us exactly who's your perfect audience, who you're looking to sell to.
Now we have like small to medium-sized businesses.
Okay.
That's what we're targeting, but of any industry.
Okay, so no specific industry, there's no one else that really stands out saying, this is the most ideal person for me.
Not really. I mean, we can give you a small range of clients that we have. So we have a union as one client, and then we also have a digital media as another client.
We have a physiotherapist office we got, and just a couple weeks ago we signed with Royal Taxi. So it's pretty broad range. Just anyone that has an IT hardware infrastructure, we can, or even like on the cloud, I guess too nowadays. So hardware, software.
Perfect. Question?
Are you able to actually like restore computers remotely and like do kernel checks when they boot up to make sure that the BIOS hasn't been modified and?
Yeah, we can do that, and if it's in terms of actual data recovery, we do like data forensics, but that we would.
We go like on site for support as well. So some things can't be done remotely, obviously, but most things can be. Most of the issues, like day-to-day issues, can be fixed remotely.
Okay, perfect. Question? Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the business partnership, are you with any telecom provider? Are you partnered with any telecoms? As you said that you will be, customer needs a Taiwan internet protection for them to have a better business.
Yes.
Are you having those franchise setups and like that with telecos?
We have some partnerships for hardware distributions as well, and then with TELUS or Rogers and Bell. We've contacted with both of them for internet services themselves and some third party for static lines.
In terms of, for example, if you needed hardware, we've also partnered with some of the biggest distributors across Canada. For example, Ingram Micro is one.
Yeah.
Last question? Yep.
Do you monitor traffic in real time? Because I find one of the biggest flaws is that a lot of the time companies will rely on just logs, and if you're relying on just the logs, then somebody, if you're infected, then the logs are already changed and you don't even know you're infected.
Yeah, we go live, we have it set to our email, and if we log in on our server, we get the notification right away as well.
Yeah, for example, 2 in the morning yesterday, one of my clients, their computers went offline, and I sent them an email saying, can you check in the morning? And then we tried to remote in to see if it wasn't a false alarm, and it wasn't. So we emailed them saying, can you please try and reboot your computer in the morning? So it's all real time.
Oh wow.
So you go with SLAs, service level agreements with the customer?
Yeah. And one last thing for VoIP, we use Ring Central.
Oh.
It's cloud-based.
All right, perfect. With that being said, thank you so much. You guys have the next little while. Put your choice in who you want, and then we're going to do a quick little draw. So you'll get, whoever's basically the winner gets a draw of a Starbucks card this time. As we start progressing later on, we're gonna be doing a little bit of a pot, so anyone that speaks is gonna put in 10 bucks into a pot. We then gonna match whatever's in the pot, so at least you go home with a little bit of money in your pocket and have some fun. Hopefully you learn a little bit something.
Awesome.
So with that being said, it's the opening network part, so get to mix and mingle, make sure you do your choice, and then after that, we're gonna close off and your stickers. Wanna do that right now? Actually, before we do anything, we're gonna get Edward to pull a name directly out of the card, so we can actually have a chance of winning some fantastic space. So hopefully everyone gave your card directly in.
Everyone put their card in. I like the matte finish card, so those are my favorite.
So you're going in feeling like, okay.
Mine is soft.
Soft?
Soft velvet.
Velvet.
Going once?
That's one. Okay, AP1.
Yeah.
Alexandra.
Oh my God!
I told you. It was the heaviest one.
There you go!
Manifestation right there.
So I got 3 in here.
Whatever it is, I'll go to the office.
Yeah, but I was thinking maybe we could give it to.
So you're with Liam?
I think it's 5.
Actually, we'll do one more thing for the Starbucks card, and then the next one's gonna be whoever's gonna win. So the next Starbucks card winner is gonna be this one here, Farrar Rama. There you go. So lucky. Here's the first Starbucks, and then in a few minutes we're gonna find out who's gonna be the winner, and they're gonna win the next card. There you go. So open networking, go have some fun.